Oh, thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Mr. Battle for that short version of my biography. And I want to thank Dr. Pearson for calling me and emailing me and texting me and making sure that I got here on time. She said, Dr. Dula, I want you here at 12:30 so we can start on time. Evidently, she's been at some of the other programs I have attended, and I showed up right on time. So this time she said, be early, and I was here early. And when Dr. Pearson speaks, you listen. So it's my pleasure to be here with you. All the board members, thank you for having me. And I want to thank each one that came out this afternoon, because this is certainly a worthy cause. Now, Mr. Battle asked me to just say a few things about who I am and what I do, and I'm pleased to do that. As you heard, I'm a retired military officer. I served 30 years in the United States Air Force. Any Air Force in the house? Keep aiming high, okay? Had 30 years in the Air Force, and I am a Vietnam veteran, and thank you. And that's why I wear this pin, because it is the Vietnam Service pin. As many of you know, when we came home from Vietnam, we were not appreciated. We were not accepted back into our communities as heroes and warriors, and those that had gone to fight for democracy in our country across the world. We came back and we were seen as derelicts and baby killers, and we were spit upon, and it just wasn't a welcome home return for us. So I want to say this: I am a proud American that raised my hand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, just like some of the other warriors in this room today. So if I have any military, where's my military? Stand up, raise your hand, and we want to recognize you. Thank you. Because of you, our republic is still here. We still enjoy a country that does have the oldest constitution, the constitutional democracy in the world today. And because of you, we're going to keep on moving forward, because you're the backbone of our community, and we do need you in the community telling your stories. But it has been a difficult tour for some of us, because when we came home with certain illnesses, but we didn't know it. My story is I came home and taught high school for a while. After 5 years of high school, where the high school students actually taught me how to be a civilian again, and I learned real quick. Then I was selected by the county executive to be the Health and Human Services for the county, and that is when I said I can help our veterans. Because when I came home, there was nothing for me in our county. There was no one to call, no one to turn to, no one to ask for advice. So as Health and Human Services, I said, this is my chance. So I created the state's first Office of Veteran Affairs in 2005. So now when veterans come home, they only need to make one call. And that is to my office in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And not only do we represent Prince George's County, we are the largest Veteran Affairs office in the entire state. We serve more veterans than the entire DMV, right here in Prince George's County. And we're proud to do that. Between 53 and 60,000 veterans here in our county. And if we didn't have an Office of Veteran Affairs, they would not know who to call for VA disability claims, who to call when they became surviving spouses, who to call when they had certain PTSDs that reared up the ugly head and they did not know who to talk to or where to get the services from. So we make sure that we do all those in my Office of Veteran Affairs, and it's all because we were the first in the state to create such an office. Moving forward, it was my pleasure to serve as the President and CEO of the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce. And then I moved on to retirement, where I enjoyed myself until I was called back from retirement by County Executive-elect Angela also Brooks and said, come back and work. You've had enough gun smoke and Perry Mason. Because I always talked about gun smoke and Perry Mason, I was going out to cut my lawn. And so I left retirement and I came back. But once again, it's my pleasure to serve in this role because I know that I serve in the best job in the United States of America because I get to serve the veterans community and their families. But as a Vietnam veteran, I learned one thing too. That I said earlier, that we came home with illnesses that we did not know we had. One of those illnesses was the result of chemicals used in the Vietnam theater. So I encounter veterans all the time who served in Vietnam and who worked on Guam and had an opportunity to be on the aircraft that transported the herbicides to the Vietnam theater. And I also talked to the Korean War veterans and those that served in Iraq and Afghanistan because they're also affected by the deadly killer caused by pesticides used to kill the foliage and used to kill the crops in Vietnam and in other parts of the world. Later on, it was determined that the Agent Orange that was used was also one of the causes for prostate cancer in men. And so in my office, I get many telephone calls. Many telephone calls from those that served in the theater, but I also get the calls from the wives and the husbands who have lost their loved ones because they have been affected by the Agent Orange. Now you got to stop and think. 2.7 million people served in the Vietnam theater. 2.7 million people. 58,000 people died in Vietnam alone. Some of you remember the television broadcast each night talking about we lost 50 members in Vietnam today. We lost 200 members in Vietnam today. We had battles on Cam Ranh Bay and Saigon and other places, and we lost so many of our young men and women too along the way. That was a treacherous time. But like I said, we did not know that some of us were being affected, and as Sylvester Stallone said in, I think it was First Blood, he was killed in Vietnam and didn't even know it. Because we returned home to see our brothers and our neighbors and our friends pass away from prostate cancer and other illnesses they didn't know, and they didn't know where it was started. They didn't know where it came from. So today I take those phone calls, and I was just talking to Dr. Gooch a few minutes ago. She said, make sure you tell them, if nothing else, let them know that it is the first, number one, cancer that's recognized in America right now. But on the other side of the coin, it is curable if caught in time. I know because I'm a prostate cancer survivor, and it caught me off guard. Over a 20-year period, I had 5 biopsies, and I'm telling you, the worst sound in the world is when they take those gloves and they say, pop! And you say to yourself, uh-oh, here it comes. And you just can't prepare for it. But the sound is not that bad. But many men will not go get the examination because they fear that rectal exam. So I've talked to a lot of people. And when spouses call me and they say, my husband has passed away from prostate cancer, I ask them, were they getting their exams? And typically the answer was no. So what we do is we launch a campaign every year to go out to the communities, to let people know that these are very important examinations. Now we're talking about fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers who have never been examined for prostate cancer. And it's so easy to get it done. Now you can get it done by blood tests. The PSA is very important as a first indicator that something may be going wrong. So when you leave here today, go back to your communities and your neighborhoods and your families, and you tell people, especially men over 40, that ask them, have you had your prostate examined? Do you know what PSA is? Do you know your PSA score? We held an event 2 years ago, and we had approximately 50 people attend. And it was just geared to prostate cancer. And this is through the Office of Veteran Affairs. And we worked with hospitals and doctors who came in and nurses to draw the blood right on the site. Well, first of all, they were hesitant, but then I spoke to a wife and I said, you know what? You need to make sure that this man goes and gets his blood checked, because if he doesn't know his PSA, he doesn't know his status. And I said, and another thing, he may be sitting on money, because if he does have it, we can put on a VA disability claim and he might get $3,000 or $4,000 a month. I said, that's your money. And I saw some of the wives nudge their husbands. And the next thing I know, they were going to stand in line. But you know, we men are very stubborn. So every time I give this presentation, I often say, ladies, please talk to them, encourage them to do this. Whatever, by any means necessary, because it might save their life. And if they don't want to do it for themselves, tell them to do it for the family. Because I remember that call. 5 biopsies over a 20-year period. And I didn't like it either, trust me. It's not my favorite thing in the world. But at the same time, I knew that if they found cancer in it, that it might save my life. And I wanted to live to see my grandchildren and so forth and so on, and be there for my family. So I went, I did what I had to do, and today I'm still alive. On Monday I'll be 76 years old. And I'm still pressing on. Oh, the fight has just begun. Because in my office we created a program to address this. It's called Help with Hope. I couldn't leave out the hope, because you know we all have to have hope to enjoy life along the way. So what did we do? H stands for health, housing, and homelessness. Because we don't want any veterans out here in the community saying, I can't get the help when I need it. From a medical standpoint, we know that veterans come back from war, whether it's Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, they all come back with some type of psychological issue. That's called post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. And so we address that. We have partners like Easter Seals and corn clinics and hospitals and nonprofit providers that help us make sure that every veteran that comes through my office gets the medical attention that they deserve. On the other side of the coin, we make sure they're not unhoused. We make sure that there's a place to live. And because of it, our unemployment and our unhoused areas are very, very, very low in Prince George's County, because we address those. We also address employment and labor development by working with the colleges. We address post-traumatic stress disorder as well. We also look at from the people quality of life standpoint, because we understand that people have a nice quality of life. They may feel compassionate enough to do some things in the community that will help others. Because they get it, they'll share it. Each one touch one. And that's one of our programs. On the other side, we have the HOPE program, suicide awareness and prevention. We don't want someone diagnosed with prostate cancer and feel like the only course of action they have to take is to go take their own life. So we have programs set up to talk to them about that. We also have surviving spouse programs and youth programs and women veterans program, because we found out that a lot of women didn't understand that they were veterans, served in the military, but didn't identify as veterans. So we have MST programs, sexual trauma programs, and counseling programs, and other programs to help them along the way as well. Because it's very important that we have a whole community perspective. and that we help everyone that lives in our county. As a matter of fact, we don't just help people in Prince George's County, because now Cousin Boo Boo down in Texas calls us up and said, I need help for my grandfather who lives in Prince George's County. He has prostate cancer and he's in the hospital. True story. He's in the hospital and we're not there. Can you help us out? So I created a Warm Hearts Wellness call list so that we can go to the home or call grandfather to help him over his hurdle. Then Cousin Boo Boo calls the cousin in Arizona, and one in Arizona calls the one in Tennessee, the one in Tennessee calls the one in Florida. Now we're serving 8 states because they know that we care in Prince George's County. They know that if they call us on health care, and whether it's mental or physical, that we're going to bend over backward to make sure that we're taking care of your loved ones. And we enjoy that. And both of the people that handle those programs, the Suicide Awareness Program, the Surviving Spouse Program, the Wellness Program, they're all survivors of Vietnam veterans who died from Agent Orange. And they're every day caring for the people in this county. Now let me say this to our African American community. Men, I'm speaking directly to you. If you don't know your PSA, you're doing your family a disservice. Let me say that again. If you don't know your PSA, you're doing your family a disservice. Because you need to know that to know if there's a higher level, then something may be going wrong. Now, if there's a lower level and the doctor says you're okay, that's fine. But keep getting it checked every year. Now, I've had veterans call me up and say, I'm 70 years old. They don't like to check me anymore. I said, 70 years old? Well, you better ask your doctor for it. Because a lot of times, some doctors will just automatically want to do a blood test. Am I right? But if you ask for it, you'll find out. I had one of the people that came through our prostate cancer program. And he showed up with the other 50 people. And he went to get his blood drawn, and they said, he came back and said, well, Dr. Dula, the way it works is they said if you're 70 years old or older, then you don't need to have the blood test. I went in and told the doctor, everybody in this room is going to get the blood test. And he was 70 years old. He came back to me, and he said a few weeks later, and he said, my goodness, I have prostate cancer. If he had not gotten that test, it would have probably escalated. But after the test, he talked to me and he said, what should I do? Well, I can't tell him what to do. I'm not Dr. Coops. Call her. But since I went through it, I can say you got a couple of options. If it's not too bad, you can get radiation treatment. That's what Dr. Dula did. I had to go for 28 days straight to get radiation treatment. I had to make a way to get to Walter Reed to get it done. Now when veterans call me, I said, you can get the radiation treatment if your doctor recommends it. They happen to say that I was a candidate for both, that or removal. And I said, well, I'm not sure I want to have a prostate removed. My mama gave it to me. I think I'd like to take it with me. I'm an old country boy from North Carolina, raised in the church, you know what I mean? Yeah. I wasn't fixing to get that done. But since they said I could go ahead and get the radiation treatment, I did, and I'm doing very well. I've recommended it to other people simply because I got it. They went and talked to their doctor, and they're doing very well. How do I know that? Because they come and tell me. I have people that come to my house, Dr. Goose, knocking on the door. I'm cutting the grass. Somebody comes up and blows the horn. You know how it is when you're cutting the grass, somebody rolls up behind you and blows the horn? You jump out of your skin. But then I say, Dr. Dula, I just want to talk to you about my prostate issue. I listened to you. I got my examination. I took the radiation. And I'm doing fine. And then they asked me, well, what's next? I said, stay in touch with your doctor. I'm not an MD, I'm a PhD. But the moral of the story is, he's a black man. And they listened to him. They got the PSA checked out. And now they're living, and hopefully will live long lives because they're all in my age group, between 70 and 80s. And they're all Vietnam vets. So here's my lesson for today. As old college professor, please understand that if you are over 40 or your child is over 40, go home and speak with them and encourage them to get their blood test done. Because I have a hat that I wear sometimes that says, "Do you know your PSA?" And people look at me and they'll say to me, "What's that?" Well, see, that's my lead-in. Because I know that I was probably subjected to it because during Vietnam, I did reconnaissance along the Thai and the Laotian borders. A lot of times I didn't know I was going to get back home, but I didn't know that I was picking up these antigens from Agent Orange to bring back home. But now I do know, and I can pass it on to you. So please ask them if they know. If they don't know, recommend that they go and get tested. Because black men, please, we don't like going to the doctor. But if each one touched one, then maybe the message will get across. Now here's a couple questions for you, because other than diet and other than talking to each other, I just have a cute couple of questions I want to ask you. And I want you to think about it honestly. A combination of genetic differences and lifestyles and habits and access to medical care, because medical care is not always accessible. And that's one thing that bothers me right now. And I'm already looking at it. How do I serve my veterans community if Medicaid and Medicare are affected? That is something I'm already on top of. And we're already meeting about it, because we don't want our local or any veterans community to be affected by any cuts of Medicaid and Medicare. I'm not going to get into the political side. I just want to let you know that we are working on that already. Only because we know that there are things happening in our government. But for any man or any background, there are things you can do to better your chances for living a life free of prostate cancer. Number one, how many of you know your family history? If you don't know your family history, please go ask someone. Number two, how many of you maintain a low-fat diet with fruit and vegetables? Cut out some of that red meat, right, Doc? Amen. Amen. You heard it from the doctor. She knows. She deals with it every day. How many of you exercise at least 3 hours per week? And that's really on the low level. I see the women raising their hand. I don't do the men right here. Even when I sit at my desk, and I work about 14 hours every day, because I get that many calls, whether it's in the office, and they have my cell phone number, and they call my cell, because people are concerned, especially once they've been diagnosed. They're concerned and need to talk to someone. How many of you get your annual screenings? Either have the PSA check or, the digital exam. Leave the hands go up. Great, great. Dr. Duke said, yeah, all right. Keep it up. Now, how many of you talk to others about your issue? Over here, look at it. Let me tell you something. I have a neighbor that was in Desert Storm, and he knows that I'm the Veteran Affairs guy. And so anytime he has this, you know what? We're the same age group. Same age. His birthday is August the 24th and mine is September 8th. And he'll come over and he said, Doc, I'm having these issues now. It could be anything. A lot of times it has to do with the urinary tracts and streams and sexual stuff that none of us are comfortable talking about. But he comes over and we talk about it. Because we know it's important to talk to people that understand where you're at in life, so you can figure it out yourself. And then you know what to say to the doctor. How many of you tell the doctor the truth when you go in? If you got that weak stream, tell that doctor. Could be an indication. If you're getting up 7, 8, 10 times a night, tell the doctor. Could be an indication. And there are other indications that you might notice. But everything that happens to your body, I tell people, write it down. Because those could be symptoms of prostate cancer or something else. So my message today is basically the importance of being aware and the importance of getting yourself checked out. The last thing I'll say, they're important because either you're going to do it for yourself or you're going to do it for your family. And your family will certainly appreciate it along the way, especially if something is found. So don't hesitate to call the Office of Veteran Affairs. I would love to hear from everybody in this room because to us, it's very important that we get the word out. And it's very important that you're here with us for a long time to serve in our communities because old soldiers never die. We just come on back and keep serving. Thank you.